Now, based on what I said to you this morning, right? So for Rami and Kaji, I am gonna reiterate this quickly. So I was saying that I usually make comparison between dance and talking, right? Because to me, talking is one of, it's a way of communication, and dancing is another way of communication. We use movement and we use words, right? So to me, if I had to compare both of them, so movement would be words in language, right? And then the foundation, right? So the roll, the groove, the roll, the bounce, and the rock, yeah? Foundation. In language, it would be the grammar. So basically, the grammar gives me the structure to be able to use the words, right? Yeah, in a certain structure, right? Once I understand the grammar, then I can play with the words and still make sense, right? So once you understand the foundation of any style, then you start playing with the movement in order to make sense in this style. You see what I mean? So in this language, basically, right? And then the last thing is that once I understand the words and I understand the grammar, how do I communicate? That's with my voice, right? And my voice is how I'm actually communicating and sharing the message. And what would be the comparison of this is the groove, yeah? The groove, in other words, is your natural way of communicating, is your natural way of moving. Make sense? So that's basically what I wanted to reiterate. I said this morning, but just wanted to reiterate that for you guys so that we are on the same page. Yeah? So now that we've seen the foundations, now we're going to talk about, the voice. Yeah? Which is the groove. Yeah? But the thing is, groove can be very abstract. Therefore, some people will be explaining it, in very complex ways and stuff like this. But me, once again, I like to package things in a very simple manner so that anyone can grasp it. Yeah. So basically, that's your voice. So if it's your voice, then how can we work on groove? In my opinion, you don't need to work on your groove. You just need to understand your groove, right? Just like just at the beginning, you don't necessarily think, okay, I need to work on my voice. It came naturally, it started very young, and then as you grow, this voice becomes more mature, and then at some point you definitely know it's your voice, right? So that's the thing. Groove for me, it's not something that we're going to be working on, it's something that we're going to try to understand, right? So now, in order to make sense with our groove, first thing we need is consistency, right? It's consistency. Because now, imagine my voice, right? If I'm talking to you like this, right? You hear my voice, and all of a sudden I say, my name is Nikia. It's all of a sudden it's that's strange. That's not normal, right? Why is he talking like this right now? I definitely know that's not his voice. That's not natural. You see what I mean? So all of a sudden there is no consistency here. You see? So why is he talking like this? And it sounds weird, and it doesn't sound right. Yeah? The same thing with my groove. If I start dancing like this, yeah? Yeah? And then I'm like this, and then all of a sudden, no. Now, with your level, no one will do this. I kind of exaggerated it, right? But here's how we can still lose consistency. I'm going to show you. Okay, so I listen to the music, then I stop moving, right? The moment I stop moving, I'm already utilizing a groove, yeah? Now, that I'm utilizing this groove, this doesn't look right. Because even though I'm not off beat, that's the funny part, I'm not off beat. But you can clearly see that there's no consistency in my groove, right? Right? Because I was talking this way and all of a sudden I'm talking this way and all of a sudden I'm talking this way. Why? No, it doesn't make sense. You see what I mean? And I did the same thing here. And also, the reason why there was no consistency is because you could clearly see the cut. It's like you're watching a movie and it cut and then you come back again, it cut, come back again. You see? So there is no natural transition.
But maybe if it would be in the music, it would be okay.
Tell me.
The music suddenly changes to sound like da, 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 and you started to granularize your sensitivity. Maybe it would not be so bad.
Exactly. Yeah. Because there is place for changes. Because these things that I've done, they were not off beats. You see what I mean?
Yeah,
but it's just the manner of introducing each groove that make it look wrong. Wrong. You see what I mean? So this is what we need to pay attention to, you know, because very unconsciously, especially when, you know, we really want to do a good round, it's pre-selection and things like this, and all of a sudden we're just jumping from one groove to another, and yeah, it's happened all the time. Yeah. So now we're gonna start working on this. Yeah. First thing first, groove. To make sense, we need consistency. Yeah. That's what we're going to start working on. Now, let me try to remember what. Now I'm gonna dance it again, and this time I will change my groove gradually. And you will see the difference, and then we're going to start working on some exercise with that. Okay? So just pay attention. So, can you guys see the difference?
Yeah.
Now, what makes the difference is I added something that was not in the first one, which is transition, right? Transition from one groove to another, yeah? But it's look like, almost like it's the same groove, and I'm just adding some beat to it. You see what I mean? And how do I do this? It's just with my friend music. You know, that's the thing. I rely on the music so much to do this, right? Even if I decide to say, okay, music going this way, I'm going this way, yeah? But in somehow, we are still connected. And sometimes we go like this. But sometimes it's okay as well to go like this, right? But we are still connected, right?
Actually, I have a question. How would you do this transition with like a faster beat? How would you do this transition? I would like to see.
And
like, so, I mean,
oh,
right now,
with a faster,
like, yeah, like how would you?
with a faster
how would
music.
you play
Okay?
the?
So guys, yeah. So when I'm dancing like this, it's just basically to show you. It's about you. It's not necessarily about me, but I need some time to just show you some example and then we work on it. Yeah. So. Okay, so for example, with a song like this, where the lyrics gonna
bottles in a bottle full of ice, yeah. Better make room, bitch, better believe it, I'm smoking. Yeah. You know I'm about to take you from your man, celebrate. Papa with the chopper and artificial niggas acting like bitches in the standard. Forever dreaming, it don't make a difference, nigga, we winning. I'm feeling grinning, 100 million platinum, you ain't gotta listen, celebrate. Better step down to me, feel a big bitch, open up your mouth for me. Natural, talk to the dick, honestly. I'm dope, bitch, coming like me, money, more celebrate. I don't like when I lose, if I don't buy her them shoes, I don't like those regulate. Do anything I want to. Think I'm gon' dance on the moon like Michael, elevate. While I'm driving, I'm walking in the sky, so shit will teach other side of the view. These other happen in movies, a couple choppers, acoustic, and how did he lose us? And no one like what the crew with the summertime and the truth, but I'd rather die than lose us. I'm at the top where I lose it, and try to chop with the walk in the trap like a boss. Oh, you know I'm dripping with the stars. Oh, pretty with a face full of scars. All they did was build me up, try to take me apart. They ain't never wanna celebrate. Like you have a label called it out, I heard the chopper make it through the Macarena. All you niggas through the candy, trying to chip it. Now a later, Johnny Bridges, take a bubble.
Really, and I'm the first to remind myself to this, is take it easy, right? Take it easy, because often I'm the same guy who's gonna be going in the battle, and I'm like in the mindset of, okay, I have to win this one. And all of a sudden, I'm doing way too much that I need to do. So it's a reminder for me as well. This is how we make it easy. Just with my friend music, you know? The moment I'm like, okay, I know the music and I need to, it's not the same, it's never the same. But the moment I just play the music, and I'm like, even if I don't know the music, I start with my groove. I take the time with it, and I introduce it. And then all of a sudden, something happening in the music, and I'm like, oh, actually all of this is happening as well. Oh yeah, now you know, my friend music, go this way, I'm going this way. You know what, let's come back again. See what I mean? You're literally playing with it, you know? And when you manage to do this, and you train on that and you do this, there's no way you will lose your groove, right? Because, you know why I know that? It's because the music is already written. You can't change it, right? So if you play with it, you can't really go wrong. You see what I mean? So the only way for you to go wrong is you making it wrong. You see what I mean? By going through stress or things like that. You see? But other than that, it's not possible. So why we do it is just an emotional issue. It's just an emotional conflict in that moment. Yeah? This is always why everything goes sideways. It's just when we get too emotional about it. Because we want to do well, or maybe we want to prove ourselves something. This is when, you know, conflicts can happen. You know? But without that, you can't go wrong. Because the music is already written. Even if you don't know it, when you start with your groove, and then you build it up. So now that's what we're going to be working on. Understanding how to build it up. Yeah? So, my friend, music first. Yeah? So here's the exercise that we're going to play with. Now imagine that you are literally alone in this room, okay? I know it's not that easy because we have all around, but imagine you are alone in this room, yeah? I'm going to play the music, and at the beginning, you're just going to identify the first groove. The first groove is basically, how do you feel like moving on this song? That's the first groove, okay? Don't try to predict it. Play the music, and you start just having this, okay? And then we're going to go from there, all right? Once you have it,
I have a question. What do you think about the dancer have a system to want the cut when he dance, not dancing continually? He just cut, because he loves this in his dance.
okay.
And what's the transition for that, for who dance with the cut in the dance?
Okay, good question. It's, for me, if it's done on purpose, it's not a cut anymore. It's like a pause. If I'm talking right now and I say, you know what, I want to tell you something, and I'm telling you right now. You see what I mean? So pause are much more natural. You see what I mean? So it's not a cut anymore. You know, it's a form of transition with silence. You see? Yeah. So, but cut is harsh cut, and harsh cut is never really good. You know. So yeah, that's what I would say. But
Pause, it's not cut.
yeah, yeah. But even if you cut, if it's something that you do on purpose, the audience will understand it. You see what I mean? So I dance too much now. I'm gonna let you dance, but later I can show you what I mean by that. You know?
Okay.
So because yeah, you can make it intentional, right? So I was saying. So I'm gonna play the music.
You can
Let
have
the groove.
Sorry, I have one question. So the first group is the group that we need to keep throughout the song,
Yeah.
throughout our performance.
Exactly.
Yeah? Okay.
Exactly. So imagine when the beatmaker is playing the music, it started creating any beat. It started with just, let's say, one groove. You see what I mean? One foundation, right? Then, if you realize the music always maintain this vibe, right? It never leave this vibe. This vibe always stay toward the song. Even though it adds much more thing to it, but the vibe still remain. You see what I mean? And that's something we want to do as well. So it doesn't mean we have limitation because, oh, if I start with this groove, then I need to keep this groove, all of it. No, that's not the case. We can start with this, and then we can start playing more. But the tricky part is, how can I start with this and do now something like this and still make sense? You see? So that's what we are working on, yeah? So, I'm gonna play the music, and you're gonna start with a groove that comes to you naturally. Once you have it, right, for the first time, for this first exercise, you're just gonna keep this groove, yeah? And play, you can add any movement to it, but you wanna keep this groove, okay? Yeah?
It's, when you go to the party, when you hear the song, when the first start to do the movements, about that towards the exercise.
There's a difference between doing a movement. So, for example,
Maricona, Jordan Lucas, bitch, I'm hotter than a fucking sauna. Yeah, I make them niggas elevate. All you new niggas don't walk in the trap like a boss. Oh, all you know I'm dripping with the stars. Oh, pretty with a face full of scars. All they did was build me up, try to take.
if I hear the music and I start doing this,
Bottles in a bucket full of ice. Yeah. Better make room, hit a Lambo. Celebrate. Bitch, better believe that I'm a sniper. Yeah. You know I'm about to take you from your man.
this is me executing straight away. You see what I mean? Executing straight away. So I value more the movement rather than the music vibe. You see what I mean? It's very tricky because this, you can't say, okay, it's wrong. I was in the beat. You see what I mean? I was starting to do boom, 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 boom. But when you start like this, it looks like you just keep the introduction, you jump to the development of your story. And I miss the introduction. You see what I mean? So it's easy, it's much harder for you to grab the audience in your game and fully make them understand the story because you skip the introduction part. You see? Now, if I do this,
Bottles in a bucket full of ice. Yeah. Better make room, hit a Lambo. Celebrate. Bitch, better believe that I'm a sniper. Yeah. You know I'm about to take you from your man. Celebrate. Pop up with the chopper and artificial.
now you might say, but this looks less impressive. But I can guarantee you, this requires much more confidence. Because the moment you start doing this, you feel like, oh, this is too boring, I need to go straight to it. You see what I mean? And this is where we all fall into this trap. And me first. You know? Because I'm like, hey, I only have 1 minute, and let me just hit a bit, you know what I mean? But this, it requires much more control and confidence when you go like this. and you literally keep it for like 15 seconds. But what we forget is we still have 45 seconds left. And in 45 seconds, if you take the time to build the introduction, these 45 seconds can be really powerful. You were going to say?
But can you not also do the opposite, like starting quicker and then slow?
Yes, yes. But once again, it's all about intention. You know, it's like a movie that it's rare, but sometimes the movie, like the first 1 minute, it just gives you everything. You know, like, and you're like, oh, wow. But there's a risk when you start like this as well. Because if you start like this, what can you bring later, right? That will kind of bring the balance, you know? Because once again, I could start like this.
Bottles in the pocket full of ice, yeah. Better make room, hit a Lambo. Bitch, better believe it, I'm a snuggle. You know I'm about to take you from your man. Pop up with the chopper at artificial niggas acting like bitches in it. Bottles in the bucket full of ice, yeah. Better make room, hit a Lambo. Bitch, better believe it, I'm a snuggle. You know I'm about to take you from your man. Pop up with the chopper at artificial niggas acting like bitches in it. It don't make a difference, nigga, we winning. I'm plenty grinning, 100 million platinum, fucking you ain't gotta listen.
So I lose your attention, you see? So, yes, when I say starting, it's not necessarily starting always slow. You're starting with an intention. And the groove that you start with, you need to make sense with it. Now, how are you going to make sense with it? It's going to be up to you. You see what I mean? But it has to make sense. Yeah? Now, let's get back to the exercise. I mean, if you have questions, that's not a problem at all. I will answer them. That's why we have this day, you know. And I'm realizing, even with one day, we can cover a lot, but dance is so subtle that we could spend a weekend with it as well, you know. So here's the thing. I'm gonna put the music, and yes, you let the groove come to you. And first, this groove that you have, you identify it, and then you start playing with it, and just with it, okay? Don't overcomplicate it so for now, okay? But here's the thing as well. We need to remain in these foundations, right? Yeah? You don't have to be like, okay, now I've got the groove, now I'm bouncing, now I'm doing the rock, now I'm doing the roll. No, I'm not saying this. More freedom with it, okay? More freedom with it, yeah? But, because the most important thing here is the groove that I started, and then I want to maintain it, okay? So, I'm just gonna play the music. You do that for about 1 to 2 minutes. I want you to really integrate this. I'm gonna be watching, yeah? And then I will let you know what's next, okay? I like doing this exercise because every time I do this exercise, there's something that almost always happens. But it's only when I talk about it that we're going to be like, oh, yeah, that's it. What I mean by that is, even though I say keep one groove, if you realize, everyone changed. You see what I mean? But it makes sense. You see what I mean? Because you manage to say to yourself, okay, I want to keep one groove. But it's like me, when I'm talking to you, I don't keep always the same tonality, right? Even if I'm not hitting the beat all the time, but if you realize, it naturally comes to you to start dancing with one groove and keep this groove, but all of a sudden, you're just adding a little bit more to it. You see what I mean? Yeah. Everyone did that in this freestyle. Yes, it was subtle because I mentioned let's try to keep the same groove. Yeah? But all of you guys, you managed to just add a little bit more to it. Right? So this is already what needs to be done. But then at a higher scale. Because now you did it unconsciously. When you do it consciously, this is where it's become a bit more tricky, right? Because I'm like, okay, now I started with this group, and I want to make my dance more interesting. So what I'm going to do next, you know? So let's stay in the same state of mind, which is I'm going to start with one group, I'm going to maintain this group, but now, here's the thing. I've got the freedom to play with the music. Yeah? That's the only thing that I need now. I've got the freedom to play with the music. Okay? So one group, I've got the freedom to play with the music. And you will see gradually how this comes to you. Okay? We play the music again.
Ma vie est pas rose, elles sont très roses. Je me sens pauvre, sans méga. Et depuis le temps je suis pause, maman dit que je chauffe. Les Françaises donnent, sans méga. Guerre encore, difficile, tu veux la vie. Est-ce que tu es facile, sans dégâts. Je reçois de l'eau, je prendrai un verre de rose. J'irai à la vôtre, sans dégâts. J'aime les mains, j'aime pas. J'aime la vie, j'aime comme ça. Si t'as pas de courage, faudrait mieux penser. C'est dans le courage que la passion réside. On fait ce qu'on aime, c'est pour ça qu'on est lié. Quand je suis dans, je fais le tour du club.
That was a strong run. Good. It's just simplify freestyle, you know, because we tend to see a lot when it comes to freestyle, and there is a lot, but in these all lots we can simplify it by having those structure, and those structure are not here for limitation. It's just for us to make more sense. You see what I mean? That's it. But if you see that everyone here, from Marco to Dogen to, remind me your name again? Karian, à chaque fois je vais. Karian, okay, Karian. So, one thing that was here all the time is consistency, right? For any one of you who did the groove exercise, the first one we started like, okay, let's try to keep one groove, and then you say, okay, now we're going to keep one groove and just playing with the music a bit more. But one thing that was always here is consistency. Why? Because we pay more attention to the groove. You see what I mean? So this is basically, like I mentioned before, the voice. The voice, even though I'm changing tonality, I'm changing different words, I'm doing different grammar and stuff like that while I'm talking. But one thing for sure, my voice is consistent, right? Not consistent in terms of the tonality, but consistent in terms of how I sound, right? Yeah, it's still me, yeah? So this groove, this consistency in your groove is the same thing. But all of a sudden, when we are dancing, let's say for real, because it's a battle and things like this, we tend to forget it. You see what I mean? Because we tend to rely on things that are much more visual, you know, which is the technical aspect of it. But being able to maintain the groove and play with it for so long and just make it and enrich it in your freestyle, this is technical as well.